No, that's great. And so this is going to be a very similar question, but a kind of a follow-on to that. For those of us, I'm not a finance guy. You guys know that, although I worked in kind of corporate finance from a legal perspective. What would you say would be the major differentiation between traditional finance and sustainable or green finance, just generally speaking?
That's a very good question, and I wouldn't say that we need to differentiate them in a way. So these two they overlap, or they complement each other, I would say, right? But when we are talking about sustainable finance, or more specifically green, like certainly we need to see this element into those in those financial decisions. Whether we are talking about investing, right? So if investors really do consider, let's say, environmental factors when they are choosing from maybe the companies to invest in. Also, if we are talking, let's say, about concrete transactions, so if we are talking about green finance or sustainable finance, we are also often talking about transactions which are specifically structured to perhaps address some environmental issues, or are linked to different sustainability goals, right? So this is a whole one area of sustainable finance. Things like the green bonds, that's maybe what people have heard of. So when let's say companies issue these bonds, they promise to only invest the money that they raise through these instruments into eligible green projects, right? So it can invest in renewable energy, decarbonizing their operations, and so on. So I would say that's maybe the major thing to consider there. That talking about sustainable or green finance, we need to see that element there, which is not always very straightforward, right? And people need to be able to recognize also if we are talking about maybe high quality green projects that are being financed, or there can be sometimes element of greenwashing, right? So of course it's not so easy to navigate either.
So one thing that we talk about in this course and in general is the idea that ESG is not a checklist, right? It's not a different set of principles. It's effectively a methodology whereby you can see a more sustainable long-term way to run a company, an economy, etc. So I think if I'm hearing you correctly, sustainable finance isn't a new finance. It's not necessarily a different finance. It's taking the principles that we know about finance traditionally from the math side of things and just applying them in a sustainable way, broadly speaking, across these different categories, including the environment, including biodiversity, but also the social and governance side of things. Is that kind of an accurate way to describe it?
Exactly. I mean, ultimately, we are still looking at the financial impact of these things, and we still work with concepts that people would be familiar with from modern finance theory, such as risk-adjusted returns and so on. But also we are trying to understand how these factors that are related to, say, the environment or social factors, how they can impact these numbers. So how they can, perhaps mitigate risks, or how they can even help with maybe increasing returns, right? If companies are acting on, say, green opportunities, right, which are, say, all of the renewable energy and the new energy sources and so on. So yeah, the basis is the same, but we are trying to incorporate these factors into it.